Hey guys, how's it going today? Let's talk about depression right now in this video. And the question that I want to propose to you right now is, are you feeling depressed because you're self-centered? And that's the question that I want to ask, because a lot of times people who are depressed also feel low self-esteem. They feel like there's something wrong with them. They're insecure. And people who are depressed are usually some of the more introspective, more self-aware people out there who tend to try to think mostly about themselves. And maybe self-centered isn't the right word, but self-focused, self-obsessed. And there gets to be a point where you might be thinking too much about yourself. You might have an unhealthy level of self-obsession. There's actually been studies done. I don't know exactly what studies, but they found that a good indication of people who are going to experience depression or who do experience depression is when you listen to the language that they use. They usually talk in first-person pronouns, so people who are depressed are more likely to use the words me, myself, and I more often than perhaps we or us or them, or I don't know, like talking about other people. And I found this to be true with myself. Like, I've noticed a lot that, like, I can't stop thinking about myself, and I always talk about myself. And sometimes I wonder, like, is that like a narcissistic thing? But I wouldn't say it's narcissism. I think that narcissism is its own thing, and it's not really the same thing as just simply, being obsessed with yourself. Like, for me, what I think about with this whole aspect of being self-obsessed is that the more you think about something, the more you try to understand it. For example, for me, I'm trying to understand myself. Like, that's kind of what the whole point of me having this channel is because I'm trying to, like, bring forward, the concerns I have in my life and the struggles I face and everything, and I'm trying to work through everything. And it's kind of like therapy. I'm trying to help myself. I'm trying to understand myself, essentially. And the thing is, yeah, I might be concentrating more on myself to better myself, but that can also lead to an unhealthy level of, like, just obsessing over myself and looking at the negative aspects constantly. And you have to wonder, like, maybe it's not a good thing to always see the negatives in something. Like, I think about people, like, not just simply with yourself, but I see a lot of people who are looking out into the broader world, and I see this with, like, intellectuals and academics and people who are commenting on how the world is going. And the more and more that you look into the world and trying to understand life and, society at large, the more you realize that there's so many problems with the world, and you just see death all over the place. And you can't look at the world and think that this is great, like this is perfect, like this is amazing, because you see everything that's wrong with it. And I think that's the same thing whenever you're going to be introspective, whenever you're going to try to think about yourself and try to understand yourself. You're going to inevitably figure out what your flaws are, what your weaknesses are, and what your vulnerabilities are. And with social media today, like everybody is even more self-obsessed, because you create a social media profile, and then you see everybody else's profiles, and you're, like, comparing your life to their life because of the pictures that they're posting and what they're posting. And it's like there gets to be this problem of thinking too much about yourself and comparing yourself to other people with social media. And so I do think that when it comes to being depressed, when it comes to how much you experience, like, negative emotions and loneliness and like low self-esteem, like, it is more likely that you're going to be that way if you think about yourself more often than not. So one thing that I would suggest, and I'm not really too sure about this, but the more that you can try to stop thinking about yourself and try to think about other things. Like, I'm not sure if this is a technique to get over depression or to get through it, but distracting yourself from some of the problems you're facing that you're just like obsessing over is a good thing, um, and it's kind of weird, because when it comes to the idea of being self obsessed, like the way I think about it is I'm not purposely trying to be self obsessed. I'm just trying to think about myself and my life, and I'm trying to understand myself. But the more that I do that, the more I just can't stand what I am, and I almost have this level of hatred towards myself, this self hatred that I just can't get rid of, and like seeing what's wrong with me, and it's like I won't feel better until I can fix these things that are wrong with me. And unfortunately, I think one of the things that you have to do if you're feeling that way is you have to learn how to accept yourself for the way that you are, because there are some things about you that might suck, that you might not like about yourself, but there are things that simply cannot just be changed overnight. You can't just wave a magic wand and make your life perfect and change everything about yourself. But so often it's like people who hate themselves just like they can't live with themselves unless they change, and that's a very dangerous attitude to have. One thing, it's like when you think about people who try to understand human nature, it's like, oh yeah, let's just try to study people. Let's try to understand what human nature is like. It's like you go into it maybe with this idea that you're gonna, that you're gonna like people more by studying human nature. It's like you find out that when you study human nature, that people are awful at times, that people have murderous tendencies, that people will lie, cheat, and steal and hurt other people. It's like there's a selfish aspect to people, that is absolutely like there's a level of darkness within people that like when you're exposed to it, it might traumatize you. It changes your perspective of people, which is why you come across a lot of people in society who, when you ask them, what do you think about people? They're like, no, I hate people. People suck. Because it's kind of true. Like, it's kind of true that there is a negative aspect of people, but there's also great aspects of people. And the same thing goes for if you're going to look into who you are, if you're going to try to understand more about yourself and try to learn what you're capable of and what you're like, you're going to look deep within yourself and you're going to find out that you're not the greatest person out there. And that's going to make you feel all these negative things. It's going to make you so self-obsessed, so self-focused that you're just going to feel, you're going to recognize everything that's wrong with you. And how can you be happy when you see all the things that are wrong with yourself? That's what I'm dealing with right now. I'm kind of laughing nervously about it because I know that it's so true. How, it's like, how am I supposed to just be calm in my life? How am I supposed to just be okay with life when I know that I've got all these problems and I'm not happy with myself and I wish I was more like other people, and I'm so insecure. And this is kind of the same thing that goes with anxiety, I'm sure, as well. This is probably something that why people are, okay, let me just talk about this with social anxiety. Why am I, because I have social anxiety, why am I so nervous to talk to people? Like, why is it that I'm so insecure, that I'm so nervous about what other people think about me, that I find it difficult to start up a conversation with people? Well, the answer is because I'm so self-conscious. I'm so worried about what they're going to think about me. When the way to kind of help yourself with social anxiety is you try to avoid having that thought. You try not to go up to somebody and talk to them with the expectation that they're going to think something about you. You just kind of forget about that part, and you just try to have a conversation with them, listening to like what they're actually saying, and not worry about like what they think about you. And so a lot of anxiety, social anxiety for sure, is an insecurities. It's like if you lack confidence and if you're really insecure, it's because you're thinking so much about yourself and what other people think about you. You're making it about yourself when it doesn't have to be. So, so is it true that all people are self-obsessed? I don't know. All people that are depressed, are they all self-obsessed? I don't know. Like, everybody has to have some level of self-centeredness. Like, everybody is looking out for their own interest. Everybody is most familiar with themselves. So, I mean, it makes sense that, like, you're going to think about yourself and care about what you are like, and, but I think it's just that there gets to be a point where maybe you thinking about yourself too much is not the best thing, and that you should find other things to occupy your mental focus on. And that is kind of just where I feel I just wanted to bring this up to you guys. Maybe think about, maybe what you should do is think about how you can not be so self-obsessed in your life. How you can try to do things that are beyond just beyond just for you. Doing things for other people is always something that makes depressed people feel good. Whenever you can give someone a gift or do them a favor, making other people happy, that usually makes you happy. So doing that more is a good thing. At a certain point, giving up certain things that you're trying to get in your life it can be a relief sometimes. And because when you care so much about every little thing about yourself and every little thing about your life, it can drive you crazy because you're never going to be good enough. So there can be a relief in letting go of maybe unrealistic expectations, or just realizing what is important to focus on in your life and what isn't can probably help you a little bit. So these are just my thoughts. If you have any more thoughts to share on this topic, please say something in the comments on this video. I just wanted to introduce you guys to this topic. I'm sure that maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't. It's really something that I think is really interesting to look into, and I found this to be true in my life because, I found myself to be depressed, and I've just learned that I'm so self-obsessed, and that it's a huge problem for me, and it's one of the number one things that I have to work on. So that's something I want to help you out with on this channel more, is talking about the idea of, thinking so much about yourself, and what do you do when you're insecure, when you're self-obsessed, and how can you stop feeling all these negative emotions so much. And so I'd like to do that more. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. So make sure you give this video a like, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.